Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in sixth chapter, known as Atma Sanjama Yoga, yoga of meditation, is focused on giving the essence of Raj Yoga, yoga of meditation. And it has 8 limbs. You begin with yama, ahimsa, satyam, brahmacharya, things that you should observe, or things when observing not to do. Not is emphasized in the first stage. Not the big not, the dot, negation. Not violence, not falsehood, not stealing, not greed. What you shouldn't do, that's yamas, that's controls. Niyamas are observances. Shauch, physical and mental purity. Santosh, allowing your mind to be contented. That allows your mind to be free of junk. Swadhyaya, study of scriptures. Repeating japa, surrender to God. All these that help purify your mind. All that helps to purify your body and make it healthy. All that helps to purify your mind. All that comes under shaucha. And then introduction to asanas, how to control your body for awakening the mystic centers. The whole personality is a big computer, and it has various subtle technical points. And through your mental process, as you touch them, many experiences Google up. So all that becomes possible by your succeeding in asana. But asana stage has different aspects. Asana, which is just allowing your body to be well disciplined, various yoga exercises. When you succeed in asana, every time asana is practiced, you end up with shavasana. Relax. How much can you relax? How quickly? How deeply? That gives you the idea whether you have really succeeded in your yoga exercises. And a greater success comes when you deal with people and don't stay excited. And if you are excited, you become quickly relaxed. So whenever we talk about asana, I don't think they're just confined to one time in the day and then forget about it. Your practice of asana, yama, niyama, it embellishes your entire personality, makes your personality shine more and more. And then you are introduced to pranayama. What makes you breathe? Breathing. Behind breathing process, there is vital system If you do abrupt breathing, your vitality diminishes. If you allow the breathing to be harmonized, your inner vitality increases. So pranayama is not just holding the breath, but allowing your inner experience of vitality to become harmonized. And that you begin to experience and learn. If you are excited, your prana is agitated. If you laugh, your prana is agitated in a positive way. But if you are laughing on a wrong basis, then prana is creating intricate movement. Because your subconscious is being deprived of oxygen. So, given you some touch of that. And pranayama leads you to pratyahara. Pratyahara means even though you have all your five senses bringing all experiences of the world, and even though the world is pouring down lots of news, some are fake, some are just shake, some are milkshake. But in spite of all that, you will stay untouched. You listen, but it doesn't disturb your mind. It has many stages. First stage, you literally withdraw your senses. Put a swab over your eyes and automatically you can't see. Plug your ears, you can't hear. But that's a disciplinary stage. You have to always understand, you evolve through many stages. Yoga that you practiced in kindergarten level, the same yoga evolves, like a tree evolves. In the early stage, tree looks very little, etc. Grows up, it has many more ramifications. So yoga movement grows. So pratyahar, advanced pratyahar, the mind is so mature that things that are hurtful, they are things that are encouraging your lower self to dominate you. Those things you don't go after. Things that are helpful, you allow. So your ears are regulated by your cultured mind. So you don't have to plug the ears. Even when you plug them, you are imagining what they are saying. Sometimes your imaginations are worse than what they are saying. So to always understand, don't be fooled by external disciplines. A person can stay seated in meditation for a long time. Doesn't mean he has succeeded in meditation. So when you go on practicing yoga, your whole personality begins to change, how you act with people. Be good, do good. That begins to progress. You become better and better, not bitter and bitter. And you promote happiness in others in a positive way, not in a superficial way. So all that possibilities develop in you. The practice of yoga, practice of religion in the true sense, that is the most blessed process that will let your life enjoy. If you don't, you are living in vain. So with that, all these points have been touched before, and in 28th verse, we are coming to more highlighted insight in dhyana yoga. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma sansparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Thus a yogi, this is 28th verse, thus a yogi who maintains his mind always in samadhi. So while I was describing 8 yamas, I went to yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar. This is called vahiranga, external, allegorical term. And dharana, dhyan, samadhi, last 3. Dharana, focusing the mind. Dhyana, focused state continues effortlessly. Samadhi, so focused that you don't even know you are practicing meditation. Who is practicing? What is being practiced? See, you start going to sleep, you become aware of your bed, how relaxing it is. Then you slip into some dozy state, sometimes little dream. But all this is not your sleep. When you really sleep, then you don't describe it. You simply enjoy it. So that state of mind, not through sleeping, but through positive discipline of personality integration. And nobody is deprived of that experience. Everyone has some degree, some little drop. But when you practice yoga in a proper way, it doesn't just come by chance. It becomes your project. And you begin to grow with it. So, a yogi who maintains his mind always in samadhi, first stage of understanding, one who practices yoga, all leading to samadhi stage, all yoga aspects begin to unfold in your personality. Your climax in the practice of yoga is reaching samadhi level, where mind becomes so calm. And in that calm state, the most dynamic change begins to occur in your deeper personality, in your subconscious, in your unconscious. And that gives a totally different direction to your soul. Your soul begins to move away from the passage that leads to world process and enters a spiritual passage. I'm using allegorical word. There's no passage, it's like a road, but a spiritual movement that allows you to be rooted in the awareness of who am I. Until then, your real I is far away. For easy understanding, the I that you face is like a reflected sun. Sun is your real I. And that sun has no trouble. But every reflected sun is nothing but that sun. There's nothing different from the sun. It doesn't have anything new that the sun doesn't have. Every reflected sun has the same reality. But then that reality is ignored. A reflected sun in its limited state is recognized as your identity. Ego identity is not you. That's where the big problem with human beings. Things don't have to happen just to please your ego. You can stay a whole day pleased with things, but then you go to sleep and ego becomes your slipper. You move away from your ego and don't miss it. You have to understand what happens every day. Ego that gives all the spice in your life, all your excitement, all your attainment. And then what happens to that ego? Finished. So therefore, why to wait to go to sleep to be free of your ego? Why not get involved with an understanding your life must flow according to you, insight given to you by yoga. Your life must flow according to integral movement, integral process. As you live your life, 4 aspects of your personality must become harmonized like in a melody, like in harmonium. Your action, your emotion, action becomes karma yoga. Emotional aspect is highlighted by love. And love, real love is when love is directed towards the reality of love, then becomes bhakti, devotion. Real love is always God. There is nothing lovable in the world because nothing is. In dream, you found a whole set of loving relations. Loving relations with animals, birds, human beings, loving ornaments, pearls. Wake up, all those don't exist. What happened to your love? You are loving your own self that became all the objects of this dream. So when you love in your relations, when your love guides you and whole life is involved in love, subtle essence you are forgetting, just like your whole life moves on and you forget who am I? Loving so many things, but you forgot what is your love, what are you really loving? And where can your love be fulfilled? Answer comes God. And God is same as your own identity. So that movement called Bhakti Yoga. Third movement is called Dhyan Yoga that we have already described, 8 limbs of Raja Yoga. Fourth is the climax, Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is allowing your mind to become nirmal, pure, allowing your subconscious to be free of vasanas, subtle desires, even though your mind seems to be quite calm and controlled. Your subconscious and unconscious continue to hold a lot of negativity. So that must also go. So 3 things should happen. Mala, Vikshepa and Avarana. Mala, gross impurity. Vikshepa, that keeps your mind restless. Mind itself doesn't know why it is restless. But the subconscious Vikshepa creates a lot of pressure over your mind. So mind becomes constantly restless. And the source of your subconscious lies in your unconscious. And put it in summary form, the real source is called ignorance, avidya. That all the three are removed when you have jnana at the height. The special focus of jnana is removing ajnana or avidya, ignorance. It begins with your intellect to understand the scriptures. But your understanding is not effective. You go on studying all Brahma Sutras and all is Brahman, and your mind can recite so many scriptures. But your intellect becomes expert in using palabras. But your experience is far from all that. But if you have integral yoga movement going on day by day, that error will not occur. In other words, all the 4 points, karma, how to do your duties and make your dutiful life not boring, relaxing, productive, creative, inspiring. That's how yoga begins in a profound way. And then your loving movement, how not to be shallow lovers, but profound. Whomsoever you love, allow the person to discover his real source. To love someone is to let someone discover all that is good in him, all his potential, him or her. But if you love someone only to hold the person captive, to stay around you, to wait for your instructions when you need coffee, when you need tea. That's a shallow aspect of love that creates a lot of trouble. It creates trouble from life to life. So that whole movement is corrected by integral movement. And dhyana movement is will, operation of will. For physical things, you exercise your muscle. For mental project, you exercise your willpower. That muscle is not easy, and it is much more profound and beyond your imagination. Because your willpower becomes enhanced by touch of God's grace. And you don't know how much can you accomplish. So your will goes on increasing as you develop sense of surrender, a channel of God's will, not the ego's will, let it be God's will. And you become so aligned with that project that you don't have to hold on to your own ego. Unless my desire is fulfilled, I'm not going to be happy at all. That is called, you're bounded by your own ego. No. Let that stage, let it have its own whispers. Come to a different level. Oh God, relieve me of this trouble that ego is creating. But bring me in accord with your own will. Let me be just a channel of your will. Let my life flow, sahaj, spontaneous. So, that's called Raj Yoga. So thus a yogi who maintains his mind always in samadhi, and I gave you all this interpretation. The mind is always involved in yogic movement, practice of integral yoga that leads you to a state where consciousness is not confined to your limited understanding. Whenever you think of yourself, you think yourself in a limited circle, that this is what your possibility is within this circle of practical reality. But if you go advance, you realize who you are relates to God Himself. And there is no limit of how much can you visualize, imagine, and experience. When you go to sleep, you have no idea how much dream can you have. Samadhi doesn't give you ordinary dream, it gives you revelation. Practice of this whole process. Vigata kalmasha. Kalmash of the world, kalmash, things that get you mushed up. Mushed up, it's black, muddy waters. The word itself has kind of a visual imagery, kalmash. Kalmash means your mind that is uncontrolled. Something happens, it seems to your mind is negative. You cry whole day. And next day you find what happened was very good for you. You can't go backward to wipe your tears and give us back to your head. Why did you weep? So, that type of error goes on occurring in your mind if you are not harmonizing, not integrating. Lots of time goes into worrying, and then worrying becomes your habit. And it becomes your addiction. And one day you don't worry and say, what has happened? Why is this day so boring? It takes a different turn if you start continuing with sadhana. One day when you miss your serenity, now we become awake. What happened? Why am I losing that subtle experience? So, what causes kalmash in your mind? Simple point to understand, all the malas, gross impurities, anger, greed, hate, pride, vanity, hypocrisy. Kram, krodh, lobh, moha, madamatsarya, those are technical terms. Those are the kalmashas. Greater the success in your integral practice, and thereby effective, dynamic success in your meditation. Greater the success, greater is diminishing of your kalmash, diminishing of your gross impurities, diminishing of your vain distractions that follows mathematical relation. And therefore, if you have gone to the climax in meditative movement, attained samadhi, kalmash will not be there. Mala will not be there, and whatever will be there will not touch you. It is superficial. Just needs washing your hand. Sukhena Brahma Sansparsham. As a result of that, what happens? You easily experience contact with Brahman. And the bliss of this experience is infinite. You have been in contact with objects of the world. Vishaya Sansparsh. The Gita has expressed, Yehi Sansparsha Jabhoga Dukkha Yonaya Evate Adyantavantah Kaunteya Nateshu Ramate Buddha. All the bhogas, enjoyments of the world, are based upon senses contacting the objects. That's called Vishaya Sansparsh. Sparsh literally is touching. But touch term becomes allegorical. If you begin to desire something, Vishaya touches your mind. Vishaya touches your ego. As if your very soul is touched by objects of the world. So your deeper movement is viewed by you as a successful movement on the basis of touch of objects. That's practical reality of the world. You want to have a project, you have to get a ticket for your trip. How will you know it? You have to touch it. Must come within your control, at least in your iPad. So touch term in the practical world, that's the practical reality. So many people say so many things they are going to do, but you don't really see them doing it. And therefore, it becomes like as if nothing has been done. Everything you expect in the form of touch with senses. But that touch aspect, yehi sansparsha jabhoga, dukkha yonaya evate, all enjoyments that arise out of senses contacting objects, all those enjoyments are the source of misery. Dukkha yonaya is the big womb of strange wild creature. Dukh is the name. And countless eggs will sprout out of the womb. They crawl in many directions. Vishaya Bhog, try to understand now with a mature way. No one is completely involved with Vishaya Bhog. Of course, there are people in different levels. People who have nothing else but Vishaya Bhog. They become completely enmeshed with sinful karmas. Not simple karmas, sinful. Karmas that torture them, torture others. Papa karma. Then there are people who, led by some change in their higher level of evolution, do good karmas and bad karmas in different proportions. Still they are not in touch with reality. They are in touch with the world. Good karma is giving them heavenly enjoyments. Heavenly here means astral pleasure, a pleasure that does not fulfill the purpose of your soul, but amuses, entertains your soul for a while. In between your life and next life, you get an entertaining experience. And then you start your cycle of birth and death again. So, bhoga, that's called bhoga. Just going out, securing your pleasure in the world. And for that purpose, being good. Not for attaining enlightenment. Even that movement is not giving you touch of the truth. You are still touched by the world of illusion. So all the enjoyments that arise out of touch, the source of pain and misery, that has to be understood. It doesn't mean that then you have to just give them up quick. You cannot do that. Your angle of mind has to change. The same situation, the mind changes its understanding. And your touch moves from Vishaya Sansparsh to Brahma Sansparsh. Simple illustration, a child, a loving child you are holding in your arms. You are enjoying how wonderful it seems. It can be Vishaya Sparsh. If you want to secure the child's presence, not let the child go anywhere, even the school, then you are working on the basis of Vishaya Sparsh, which will be a source of pain for you, for child. If you are spiritually sensitive, holding a child in your arms, your mind is turning. You are holding Krishna in your arms, holding Rama in your arms. God, what makes this little baby so wonderful? And another wonder, how that baby makes you feel you are also wonderful. So in that relation, your mind turns to God behind your loving gesture and behind the baby awakening love in you. So when you begin to, again this vision doesn't come fully, but little by little. You are moving from moha, deluded type of love, to something that is divine, gradually. That change occurs if you become highly integrated. So even though you are doing Vishaya Sparsh, you are touching the child. Internally, you are touching Krishna. Ishwar Sparsh. So whenever we say don't touch the objects, only touch God, doesn't mean that put gloves in your hands, don't touch anything. Only come in the temple, then you touch the feet of God. It doesn't mean that. So these are very important terms. Vishaya Sparsh. Everything in the world you talk in the terms of contact. Allegorically, Brahma Sansparsh. You are touching God, but touching God is allegorical term. When the reflected sun begins to realize I am the sun, it is begin to spiritually touching the identity, touching the truth. In reality, there is no touch. Therefore, another terminology used in Vedanta, asparsha yoga, contactless yoga. From Vishaya Sparsh to Brahma Sansparsh, from Brahma Sansparsh to Asparsha Yoga. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. One whose mind is purified by yoga beholds the self in all beings and all beings in the self. He sees the same self everywhere. This again has to be understood profoundly. First stage of understanding by your wisdom. A reflected sun seems to be an individual unity suffering in a pot of water, trying to develop a steady and secure situation. But without going into much detail, its real security is to realize I am the sun. But when it realizes I am the sun, even in that process it must discover that all reflected suns are the same. You must, deep down in your heart, must allow this understanding that all people around you, whom you hate and whom you love, they are nothing but the same self, not an inch difference of distance. And therefore, in your actions, you begin to develop, put yourself in the shoes of others to understand their problem. If you don't do that, then you go on constantly misinterpreting others' problems. Others' problems become your tasty gossips. You pick up some of the negative points which, according to your own way of looking at it, and then you build up a whole diary of literature against the person. And spend time in talking about it. This is a tremendous wastage, creating a lot of negative karmas for nothing, and stopping the possibility of your heart to have profounder joy and possibility of the soul to become liberated. All that becomes restricted by your gossiping habit. On the other hand, change, as you become integrated, a real yogi, a real religious person, which again is a progressive movement, as you begin, now you view people with big sympathy. What makes the person ignore his potentialities? What makes a person ignore his head, ignore his heart, ignore his personality, and turn into a negative direction? Already, because of the negativity, the person is suffering. Why are you not planning out to make him suffer more? What a joy you are going to get. So then how can you develop a sense of do good, be good, do good aspect in a profound way? Do good doesn't always mean that you exactly do things help people physically. Your help can be in many dimensions. The biggest source of your help is your inner understanding and a loving gesture. And if that happens, you are allowing your heart to pray for others. And the scriptural ideal is sarve bhavantu sukhina. May all be happy. Each time you pray and allow your heart to open and develop a magnanimity. Let my prayer be shared by everyone. Thereby, you are receiving the best result out of your prayer. But you are praying for, let that wicked person lose his tongue. And so forth, negative. Your prayer, or just praying for just your little personal views of what things you like. Always understand what you like is not always reality. You are being led by your own ego. So, prayer has to have a room to plead God to give you right understanding, Samadhi. And another room, let that Samadhi be for all. Sabko Samadhi de Bhagavan. Not only me, but for everyone. When you come to the grip of this, you have understood religion in a profound way. With this I am concluding. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.